So I've opened up iMovie and I've already created a new but blank iMovie video. And I'm going to just double click on, and it's called Using iMovie Tools, which is the things that we talked about at our last meeting. So let me double click this, and I'm going to go through some of the basics here before getting into the tools. The first is I'm going to import some data. Now, I have a file of pictures that I took last year at Moffett, and it was some planes, World War II planes that were landing, and I thought that was a good thing to use to illustrate the use of the tools. So let me bring in the video clips first. I'm going to, over here, I'm going to sort on the file type. And I know that the QuickTime movies come up like this. And I'll just click on the import the selected images, selected files, and you'll see here that there's about 10 files that are video, and if we just sort of go through them, you'll see the plane and the people walking around and some things that are out of focus, and so I think it'll be kind of a good thing to do. Now, in addition, I'm probably going to want to take and bring in some still photographs that I took to sort of round this out. So one of the nice things about iMovie is that it's fully integrated with the Mac Photos program. So if you go over here to where you want to add some pictures, you'll see an icon for photos. And I can just click on that, and it brings up, it can bring up, your albums. You can bring them up by years, by people, places, the kinds of things that it already is. Now, I've already set up in my albums an album called Moffett, and it has all the pictures in there. And I'm going to just sort of open this up so that I can choose the pictures that I want to add to my these are the still pictures that I want to add to my video. So let's just go back to the video clips by clicking on the name of the project, and Photos gets me right back over here. So let's just start by very simply adding the clips, and I'm going to add all of them. Okay, I'm going to add all of them into my timeline. Now, it really isn't that much time. It's only about 2 minutes. Okay, and some of it actually isn't very good. So we're going to have to go through this and see how we want. Now, this is obviously out of focus, and that's because the camera's automatic focus system didn't work. So I'm going to just get rid of that. All right, and just right-clicking on it will get rid of it. Now let's look at this one. Is that also out of focus? Yeah. So I'm going to select it by clicking on and then right-clicking to delete. Okay. Let's look at this one. That looks okay. It's kind of interesting is that it goes in and out of focus. That looks all right. And here's the plane sort of turning around, and it's going to take off. All right, and then it's coming back. All right, now we're going to, obviously, this is not very much of a story, but that's not really what we were interested in. First of all, what I want to do is I'm going to select all these, and I'm going to separate the audio. Okay, I right click on any one of them and I'm going to detach the audio. So I have the audio down here separated from the video, because we may want to change that. And in addition, we may want to have some background music, and so we can separate the audio's different audio channels. Okay, so now let's sort of say what can we do to sort of spice this up? Well, I'm going to add in some photos. Okay, I'm going to go back to my photos. Now, this is actually inside the plane. So in other words, you know, we talked about having 2 points of view. It's not just looking at the plane. So this is from the inside of the plane. It's pretty good, and you're looking out to the canopy. So let's sort of put this right over here. All right. So if we went through this, let's start it up. And the plane's starting, and I'm sort of looking down through the cockpit. Okay. Now, I might actually want to move this over here. Maybe we'll do it right from the beginning. So there's it starting up. And we'll show inside the plane. Okay. Now, we might want to take another view. We could actually take I know I've got another picture here. This is the bomb bay doors. So we could look and put this, say, right over here. So as we're warming up the engine, we're going to look inside the plane again. Okay. So let's take a look at some of the other things. Actually, that may be even a better picture of the inside, because you can see the cockpit. Let's take that one, move it over here, and get rid of this one. Okay, and I believe we have a good picture of the painting. And we might want to actually even put that right in the beginning, sort of as a title. All right. See how that goes. Nice transition there. Okay, and here's another one where we can take a still and put this right, so we get a real close-up view of the engine warming up, and then we get a picture of the engine per se. Now, all right, so that's, again, remember, just putting this in, it's click and drag, so I think that it's pretty good. Now, let's look specifically at some of these tools. So, I'm going to select this segment here, and I'm going to go up to, actually, I want to double click it, and because that gets me up into the editing area here. So, if I wanted to change the color balance here, I could click on white balance and then take the dropper and go, let's say this was a skin tone. It really isn't, but let's say that's what it was looking at. I'd place the dropper right over that, and then I'd click, and you can see that it sort of turns it a warmer area, but that's not really what I want. So I'm going to just try some other areas. So against the ground, the concrete, it actually turns it a little bit warmer and the sky a little bluer. So I sort of like that. Now, if I click on the guy's face right here, let's see what happens. That didn't work. So I'm going to go back to the concrete, and that gives me a more normal. But I really am going to change it when I go over here to color correction. Okay. Now, there are several things here. One is the saturation, and the other is the temperature. So if I wanted to make it cooler, I could go that way, but really I think I want to make it warmer. All right. So I've changed it a little. Everything's a little warmer. Now, you can also increase the saturation or decrease the saturation. Decreasing the saturation in this image may actually be a good idea because it gives it that sort of old-time World War II look, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to make it slightly more saturated. Now, I also want to change, I can change the black point and the white point and then the contrast. So if I sort of made things a little lighter, okay, that could help, because I want to try to get more detail in here. Bringing up the white point, no, and then change the contrast, kind of like that. All right, so now we're sort of, we have what the image is going to look like. Now if we just click here at the bottom, you'll see how this is looking, okay? Now, I want to go back to this again because I want to do a change with the cropping. Now, since this was taken in the appropriate aspect, it's a 6:9 movie aspect. If I wanted to, I could crop to fill, and you could see that I could change this. But that's really not what I want. What I want to do is I want to do the Ken Burns effect. So we're going to start with the whole image, and then I'm going to drag so I'm going to get to where the pilot is sitting. Okay. So and we're going to go over here and apply it by hitting the check mark. Okay. Now let's watch this. I'm going to, now you're not hearing the video, but what you are hearing, what you are seeing is the pilot, which is just what I wanted to do. Okay, so this is a good example of number one, changing the contrast exposure so that we could get to see the tonality in the cockpit, and then emphasize the whole cockpit by the use of the Ken Burns effect. Now, here's another thing we could do. Let's duplicate this and then paste it in here again. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now, now if you look at the way this works, here's the first one where we zoom in to the, and here's the second one, it's also zoomed in. But what I'm going to do on this one, the second one, is I'm going to change the zoom. So let's go to crop, and I want to take this and move it over to the propeller. All right. Oops. Let's see how that looks. Didn't work. Oh, I know why. I frequently do this. I go to Ken Burns, I do the start to end, and I forget to click on that blue button. Okay, now I'm actually going to do the start one a little bit different too, because I'm going to just have it with this so that it looks sort of like we're starting here and ending there. Click it. All right, so let's go back and we'll play the whole thing. So we go in on the pilot, and then we go in on the propeller, and then we're inside the plane. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this, which is one of the stills that we've put in here. Now, again, we could move the end of the Ken Burns effect so that we're really in the cockpit there. Now, notice that the start does not include the whole frame because the picture, since it was taken as a still photograph, has a 4:3 aspect ratio, and we're really dealing with a 6:9. So if you were really clever, you would take your stills that you're going to put into your movie in a 6:9 ratio. So that would be something to think about when you're actually taking pictures. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Oops. All right. That's pretty cool because we get to see the cockpit. Now, let's also take this picture and see what we can do to change the, it's not the saturation so much as we want to just sort of, we want to decrease those highlights. That's too much. That may be enough. So what you got to do is sort of, this is one of those seasons to taste. That looks pretty good. So let's go back to the beginning here, putting my playhead and hitting it. Okay, looks good. All right, now, the next thing we're going to do here is perhaps on this one, notice this this frame here, where it really starts to, okay, so maybe now this is a place where we're going to slow it down a little bit. Okay, now remember, every time we slow it down, you're not going to hear the noise of the engine, so we may just want to do this for a little bit. Now, one easy way is to hit the R button, which gives you, I want to select just a portion of this. Now, one of the things that is a little bit tricky with this is that I need to increase the size of this. Now, notice how I use the settings knob over here, and I can change the size of the individual frame. That's not, it doesn't really change the length of time that the clip is being shown, but it just makes it easier for me to actually do something with the frame. Okay, so I'm going to hit R, and I'm just going to take and drag a little bit of that. All right, so let's take that clip first of all. So that's a sort of a selection within a clip, and you can see how that's going. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's take that, make it a little bit bigger, and then we're going to go up here to the top, which is the speed. Now, when I click on that, I can slow it down. Okay, let's see how that works. We'll click to the beginning. Now you can tell that the slow motion is going when you don't hear the sound. I actually think it works pretty interestingly, because that way you get a sort of a build-up, is the engine going to catch or not? So we're going to leave that just the way it is. Now let's see, what other tools do we have up here? Let's just take this one, for example. I'm going to double-click on that. And one of the things that we haven't talked about here is having an effect on it, which is this right here. Now, there are a whole bunch of other clips that you can choose a clip filter, and when you put your cursor on it, you'll see what it's going to do. So this is flipped, this is black and white, this is really sort of a high contrast, sort of weird colors. That looks kind of cool. Let's take that one. Okay, so now when we go from here, when we go to there, you see you get this sort of interesting sunlit kind of thing. So that's probably worth trying. In fact, I think I'm going to have that clip, use that same clip effect on the next one. So this is the way it's going to look. So now we're going to work on the audio part of this video. Now we have some good background music, background sounds of the engine starting, and that's really good. But you know, we want to have the engines going through more of the movie, and as you see, there are these gaps here where we put the still pictures in, and there's no sound of the engines. Now, it turns out one would think that you could just select an audio track, copy, and then paste it. It doesn't work that way. There's no ability to copy and paste audio tracks into iMovie. So what the workaround that I have developed is what I've decided to do is take a section where I know that there's audio. I've already used it, but I'm going to put it down here at the end. I'm then going to go back up to modify. I'm going to detach the audio. Then I can take this audio and I can actually move it to an area where I want it. Okay. Now, I actually don't only need a short, and I'm going to just drop it in, and when I get it to the right place, you'll see it'll move right into the, of course I'm having trouble doing this. All right, now I'm going, you can see that I've actually accidentally increased the volume, so if I click on that and just drag it down, get the up and down cursor, come on, and just bring it down. It'll go into the right thing. So now let's look at this. So we have some engine noise. Again, we're having some more engine noise. Now what I want to do here is I'm going to move this so that we're continuously hearing the engine noise. All right, now I'm going to get rid of this piece because it doesn't do me any good, but then I'm going to reintroduce it again, go through the same thing, detach audio, take this again, come on, and I'm going to move it right into that. There you go. Once I got it in there, I can stretch it out. Let's see how that sounds. Okay. Audio where we want it. Okay. Now, I'm also going to go to audio and put some background music in. So let's go to, and this is something I showed you, I'm going to go to sound effects, and I'm going to go to theme music. Okay. So here's one theme music we could try. Sort of sounds Top Gun-ish. Let's see. How about this travel one? No, not fast enough. Simple. No, doesn't quite match. I think this bright one, let's just hear them. No, I think bright works the best. So I'm going to just drag this down over here. And then I'm going to take another another one, and I'm going to drag it down over here too. I want it to go the whole length down here, and I may have to do it one more time because this is only 1 minute sections. And then I'll take this and drag it in. Okay, so let's see how this works. Now, as you can see, at this point, the engines, it's hard to hear. So let's try to do something here. Let's first of all increase the sounds here. Now, one way you can do this is by lowering the volume of the other clip while this is going on. So let's try that. Still sounds, it's not enough. So let's boost it up a bit. Now you can hear the soundtrack in the back. This looks good. I'm going to boost this up a bit. Now another way to do this is to select the soundtrack here and just bring it down a bit. So let's we're hearing the engines roar, and you're still hearing a bit of the soundtrack. Okay, so we've put in more of the engine noise by sort of putting in extra pieces and then detaching the sound and moving it into a different place. And we've put in the background from the sound effects panel. All right, I want to go over a couple more things. The first is to look at a background, okay? And as we looked at this, we can put a globe in, and you can put this in and sort of as a title, okay? And we want to choose the city, and it's Mountain View. In fact, it says Moffett Field, so let's do that. Okay. So once again, let's see how this works. Actually, I think what we want to do is not, because it completely covers it up, so I'm going to put it over here. Now, when I do something like that, I really need to be cognizant of what I'm doing with my audio tracks, and frequently I'll have to move them. So let's move them to the beginning. And then, because I know there was extra sound here, it's just easy to add it. So let's start from the very beginning. Okay, we're going to restart. 3, 2, 1. So we've put in a map that shows where we are, but we also need a title. So the question is, what are we going to call this and where are we going to get our titles? So I'm going to go here to the titles, and I can do this several ways. Now, I think I'm just going to take this very simple title, and I'm going to put it right on top of this, all right? And I'm going to put my text in here. Now, this is a B-25 Tondaleo bomber. I'm going to say WWII bomber. Okay. Now, is that where I want it? Not bad. Let's see how that works. So let's stop it. Go back to the beginning. We're establishing where it is. And here comes our... Actually, we're going to change this a bit. We're going to call this the flight of the B-25 Tondaleo. Okay, so let's do that. And I'm going to make this a little longer. And all I have to do is grab the end of the title and make it a little bit longer there. Let's take the playhead back to the beginning. Now, I might want to change this because it's coming up sort of from the bottom, and I want the words I'm going to just take that out. Let's try to look at a different one. So I'm using gravity, and I'm pasting that in. Now, I can also change and make this a little bit bigger or smaller. No, I want to make it bigger. And I'm going to put there we go. Let's see how that works. Move that right there. We're going to make it a little bit longer. Maybe about 5 seconds. So let's start it now. I like that. Kind of cool. But what I don't like about it is that it went on to the next one. So let's just go to the length of time that this was. Now, one of the problems here I can see is we probably need to have this as black lettering or red lettering or something. Yeah, let's try that. So what I did here is I just went off of white, clicked on that, it brought up a color wheel, and I just used that. And now I want to close this, and let's yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so we end up now with audio, video, titles, and I think we're done for today. Thanks for watching.